So this final, I was a linesman, and Form 5s were playing against a staff team. And then there was a handball. I raised the flag. The referee saw it and called for a penalty. The guys behind me were the Form 5s. So they started abusing me and teasing me and whatever kind of thing. They were so annoyed. Of course, the penalty was scored. And someone said something about your mother. You know, we go those things. Never insult someone's mother. And I just turned this way. And there was Robert Bresson. Told him, what did you say? So all the Jericho in me came out. You know, kind of, before you realize there's a football game, the whole stuff is on the pitch or outside. And basically, the whole school is also there. Anyway, what went on there was a fight in front of everyone, in front of the staff. You know, there's no video evidence. There's evidence over there. And this was photoshopped. And of course, the head teacher was there. The discipline master was there. So they realized that I was a guy who was wounded. So the discipline in charge just told me, Cliff, just go home. Just go home. You know, those ones of take your bag and go home. So I took my bag, but before I took my bag, I looked at Bresson. I told him, you, go and buy your funeral. Go and buy a coffin. I'm going to bury you. Those are my last words as I went. And of course, now as you're walking, slowly by slowly, you start thinking. And by the time I reached home, of course, the guy had hit me, so I had a swollen eye. And my bro asks me, Cliff, what is this? So I told him the whole story. He says, you fighting? It's unheard of, says that one. And the guy abused my mother. Anyway, so now fighting is expulsion. There's no story about it. Now you're here, you are on bursary, you're in Form 3, you're from Richlands, you've been, you know, all those things are going through. Now is when you're starting to think about it. So if my dad is called, now those ones of, you're given a letter to take to your dad. Of course, here is not a case where utaenda kupatia nini, bus driver na sijui nini. Strathmore is a close-knit. So by the time I'm in Form 3, everybody knows my dad and knows everybody other parents. So you can't go and pick just anyone. Of course, I didn't sleep. I mean, it's there, you're thinking. And then in the morning, like, fine, now you're there with your bag. So do I go to class or do I go to the head teacher's office? You know, unajipeleka tu. So you sit by the teacher's office, outside there. So those of you who are teachers, you normally see them. When you see a student seated like this, unajua kuna shida. So I was there with Bresson, the guy we fought with. It's like, what the hell was that? This I don't know. So we were there waiting, you know, the sentence. So he calls both of us in and asks, boys, what was that? He says, we don't know what it was. And both of us were we didn't have any track record. And the guy says, okay, I think you've learned your lessons. Go to class. You know, we didn't even leave, huh? Okay. What did you say? Go to class, guys. Okay, I'm looking at him. Go to class. Then you stand up, it's like you're looking back, you're waiting for the guy to call you. And we come out and it's like, no detention, no suspension, no expulsion. Just go to class. And of course, he was 2 years ahead of me. So he goes to his class in Form 5 and I go to my class in Form 3. And I enter class and everyone is like, Cliff, no suspension? He says, no suspension. Are you sure? I say, yeah, actually, I don't understand why there's no suspension. And up to now, I've never understood. But yes, I do understand why there's no suspension. So this was I would call it Solomonic wisdom. Because the most natural thing is sign the letter, get out. And that's what we do as teachers. We just condemn kids and we kill them. And we lose that human aspect. So this happened in 1983, 41 years ago. And it's something that has influenced decisions that I've made in institutions. I've had 2 cases similar to that. Very similar. Not even 2, more than 2. And all 3 of them have involved drugs. when I joined Regis, baptism by fire, kind of. The first week, we had a case of drugs. And what these guys are nowadays, they're ahead of us. Si tulivuta bangi, ama tulinota bought wakivuta bangi. So you're looking for bangi. And these guys nowadays have gone a step higher. They've got mabuyu, they've got weed cookies, all those things. So someone has brought cookies. Unajua, si ni biscuit. Ile bangi iko hapo. Anyway. So the kids brought it to school. And that was my first week. And I'm like, okay, fine. These are Form 1s, brought weed cookie. So let's hear the whole story and everything. Hear the whole story. And these are 14-year-olds experimenting and everything. You listen to the story and say, okay, fine. We are not going to expel you. And all the teachers that go, what do you mean you're not expelling them? I said, no, I'm not expelling them. Why should I expel them? I expel them, I'm transferring the problem. So I'm going to face the problem head on, right? And of course the teachers, they're very mad with me. I said, it's okay. I have no problem. But point number one is it was a learning point for the school. So we brought in the anti-narcotics police. They came, they talked to the kids about drugs, and they showed them the drugs. That was point number one. Point number two, we brought in the Bostall Institute for Community Prison that deals with juvenile. They came, they talked to kids. Point number three, we looked for the ex-juveniles who had already been released. Kaambia kujeni muongee na watoto mwambie vile kunaendanga huko ndani na kila. So they gave them all the gory ideas about inside prison, including sodomy and homosexuality and how they transport contraband. The last point is actually we took them to committee. And from that time, for the last 3 years, committee has always been our stop point when we admit Form 1s and standard 8s who are starting to show those tendencies. They go there, they spend a day there, and they see how the thing goes. So it became a learning process. But this started like 41 years ago. It started with someone who did not expel. And I don't believe in expelling students. So I've received a lot of students who are expelled. In fact, the other day we had someone who was found with a whiskey bottle. And it was brought to me, the case was brought. And I told him, next time you're caught with a whiskey bottle, at least niwache katot. Sasa umemaliza kila kitu. Sasa nakunya nini, kind of. Ni hewa tu unanipatia, kind of. The boy did not laugh because like he was not sure. The same thing. Am I being expelled or not expelled? I was expelled from the other school. And my first statement when you come to my office, so it's brought to me, I normally tell them, I'm not going to expel you, so relax. Okay? Completely relax. So let's talk about ABCD and whatever kind of thing. So last year, the president of the school, when she was leaving, and also her mother, in their speech, they mentioned the Form 1 drug incident because now this girl ended up becoming the president of the school. And the mother said that just the fact that the child was not condemned. Now, it kept me thinking, number one, had I been expelled from Strathmore, right? It becomes a stamp, visa denied, access denied for the rest of your life. You get expelled from Strathmore, as in, forget about expelled from school. Expelled from school is different. But this is a prestigious school, and that time it was next to impossible. And then you're in this estate that is just drugs infested. So where does my dad take me from there? I mean, from there it's just like spiraling down completely. So one decision for you as a teacher, one decision of condemning a child. And sometimes it's not even the action. Sometimes it is our words. Teachers have got some of the most, and you know yourselves, cutting words. That is us as teachers. So going back to now a bit of the past, because that's what formed me. And by the time I was in Form 6, and there was a Strathmore Accounts College which used to give scholarships as well. So I applied, I got it, and I was meant to start accounts. Then that time my tutor was called Santiago. Santiago called me and told me, Cliff, accounts, no, that's not you. Well, nowadays we call them psychometric tests, so that your personality has to match your job. But then we didn't call them that. So he says, no, man, you just are a teacher. And not even a teacher, you're a teacher of kids. That's where you belong. So he told me, if you want to be rich, go ahead, do accounts. But take it from me. If you want to be happy, go into teaching. And he's the one who brought me even the application into Kenya Science and whatever kind of thing. He actually, up to the end, he followed up to the end, ensured that I got into it. And that's how I got into teaching, right? Again, back to the past. We are at this, should I say, precarious situation where the students don't even know what to do. So when we had a talk some time back and we were talking with Dennis, and we were talking about job shadowing in general. And Dennis asked this question, how do you have a 15-year-old job shadowing? They don't even know what they want to do, right? So you extend that and you have people clearing Form 4, they don't even know what to do. You have people clearing campus, they don't even know what they want to do, right? A, there's no mentor. We don't expose them to a mentorship program. B, the teachers who are there are so focused on the product and not the process. So the A has become now the most important aspect, but not the process. The process of going on with this kid and seeing them graduate and go on to the next point. Now, for me, I was lucky I had that person who told me that, hey, maybe now I would have been a rich accountant and owning all these things, but deep down, that desire of being with kids would not have been there. It was born out of that. And that's how I ended up into teaching. And Strathmore has got this system, what do you call them, the teacher's assistant, right? So when you clear your Form 4, before you go to campus or college, they engage you for 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. Now you just become a KYM, you do everything and anything in the school. They take 2 people. But that trains you into the job system. And that is more or less what job shadowing is about. So when I cleared my A-levels, I was there to start off the first primary school in 1987 with another teacher. So I job shadowed for 6 months before I went to college, and I came back again to teach. So from the time I started college, I knew where I was going, I knew what was going to become, and I knew exactly how my journey was going to be. The people who made me, right, become now, I am that person. However, if I don't make other people, I have failed the people who made me. Right? So here you are, a product of brilliant people. How do you ensure that this journey continues? Right? So here is the present. You see this person. So many things that I'm doing. Of course, I'll mention them in bits and pieces. But how do I pass on the baton to the next generation? Right? So for the longest time, it's something that has bothered me. One is we have got this international curriculum. We've got schools offering the international curriculum. But when we were employing teachers, we ended up employing teachers from 844. Because A, they were more available, B, they were affordable. If you get someone who's been within the international curriculum, then they're quoting high and everything. So we're just cutting corners. So when I was at Oswald and Premier in between, I approached the management. I told them, listen, guys, why don't we have a pool of teachers, like teachers' pool, whereby we take these teachers and they do their teaching practice here, they do the internship, and basically we have like a pool that we can pick from, and then we employ them. Of course, when you're not the decision maker, then guys cannot see your vision. It was just trash, and I said, okay, fine, no problem. When I came and joined Regis, I said, I'm not going to let this going. So currently what we have at Regis is, we even stopped employing, so I must need to make a CV. And this is the reason we stopped employing. The first time we advertised, we got 2,000 applicants for 5 places. 2,000. And the HR could not keep up. 2,000. I was on Cliff, what is this? I told him, okay, there's a problem. So we didn't even call them for interviews. Okay, we called a few for interviews, but we realized there's a gap somewhere. So we talked to Kenyatta University. Actually, they talked to us because some of the students just came and walked in and says, we want teaching practice in physical education. Now, that time, we were having issues getting people who understand what physical education is about. So we took in 3 of them, and the 3 of them brought in another. Before we realized we had 10 teachers on teaching practice. So we started mentoring these 10 teachers. For 1 whole year, they finished the teaching practice, and then there was now the long holiday. We had guests to engage them. And then after that, when the positions now emerged, we just absorbed them. Very simple, right? And now that has become now our blueprint. So right now, again, we have another 10. We took from Kenyatta and Nairobi University, and same process. We sat down and we kind of formalized the process. And the whole idea is to spread that to another 100 private schools, right? But private schools have got so many issues. So I've ended up with 3, the only 3 schools that have bought into the idea. How many teachers do we have? We have 30 teachers who now have been who have been engaged in teaching practice and now in the internship. And then eventually we'll be having this kind of meetings. In fact, I'd invited some of them, but they couldn't come. This kind of meetings with them. So this is a room full of 3rd years and 4th years. Public university. Why public? Because all these guys have been to public institutions. In primary, in secondary, and then they go to a public university. And then they meet public lecturers. Those of you who have recently met public lecturers, you know how the word public can be quite, should I say, stigmatizing. So when they graduate, what happens? They go to another public institution. So hizo tabia mbaya actually perpetuate it, right, to the next institution. So you're not breaking that cycle, right? And sometimes you need an external force to break that cycle. These guys cannot. Like right now, the lecturer was complaining that the students, the dress code, like the one you see at Strathmore University, is not there in the public. Finally, again, I started the past, the present, and the future, right? Do something. Do something. Just do something different. However small it is, do something different or do something differently. Okay? Can be different or differently. The same thing, whatever kind of thing, right? For me, the different thing came in 2014. It's now 10 years. When I started feeding street boys. 2014, 10 years. And just like standing every day, giving high fives and giving my kids hugs for the last 20 years, when I start something, I don't stop. So it started with feeding about 20 street boys, right? And now it has escalated, feeding 150, 180 street boys. Every single day. Okay, we've had challenges, we've had fights, we had stopped, we have restarted, everything. But for 10 years, I've fed street boys and street men consistently. And where did this come from? This came from service at Strathmore School. Dr. Vincent Ogutu, who's the Vice Chancellor of Strathmore University, and myself, he was 2 years behind me. But we belong to the same group of what we call Hodari Boys Club. So we used to go to Huruma, Mother Teresa's home, to go and work. Work. Every single Sunday afternoon. Shatoka Church, I don't even know. He didn't have a phone, I didn't have a phone, but we used to meet there. Every Sunday afternoon, nakutana hapo. And then that time, the men, the women, It was only one. The Nyumba ya Wazee had not been constituted, and even the one in Langata had not. So the disabled were together with so we'd go to the men's side, and every Sunday we would wash, would clean, and so that those who are disabled who could not go to the toilet. So kuna zile seats, kuna shimo hapo, right? So tainua kimse umweka hapo every single Sunday afternoon for, I don't know, forever. So from there, that spirit of service was actually planted in, and it never left. So when I got an opportunity to start a feeding program, I said, something different. Who's doing it? No one. Okay. Wacha nianze. And nilianza with 200 bob. So you don't need money. All you need is courage, and you need a heart. So we started with that, and it actually metamorphosized to more. So from feeding the streets, it gave birth to a children's home. And we have a children's home that takes care of 27 students right now. Some have graduated. And from that, we have the guys who could not go back to school. So we started kind of another informal. So the thing just kept on growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and whatever kind of thing. And eventually we said, okay, fine, now there's a problem over here. Why are these guys ending up on the streets? So can we go back and find out why? So we went back to find out why. They're ending up on the streets because A, there's no food at home. So they go to the streets to beg, and then they get addicted to the streets and they don't get out. So can you ensure that there's food at home? How can you ensure that? So within the slums, we started another feeding program for the kids in the slums and for the guys on the streets. And then we opened a community library and a kitchen, and just keeps on growing. See, you start something and you realize, damn, it's growing and growing and growing and growing, right? But eventually, it has sorted out the guys who are going out on the streets. So we don't have guys as many who are going out on the streets. That could be something big, but it's what Archbishop Muheria said some years back, that the purpose of a school like Strathmore is to churn out people who will make a difference in the world. I don't think it's about Strathmore. It's about for every single student that we're teaching has to go out and make a difference in the world. Right now, you open the okay, fine, I'm old school, so I still read newspapers. But so you look at the headlines, you look at the news and everything, and it is a rat race. Who is going to steal the most? I normally call it Snow White. It's mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the thiefiest of us all? So it is that competition that is making us like that, right? So to conclude, I'll use this quotation. Of course, it's from me, so hey, be paying attention. There have been great people before you. Learn from them. The great people amongst you, be one of them. The great people who will come after you, inspire them. From the best, learn what to do. From the worst, learn what not to do. Whatever you're doing, keep learning.